James Ball War Boss. So James Ball is running a Tactics Brigade, the first of the 3 lists that we are going to cover this week from last weekend. So James Ball got right here, got 16th place, ended up going 6 rounds, 6 rounds, going 5-1. And this was the Beachhead Brawl, and there was actually 202 players in the UK. This was a ITC UKTC event. All right, so makes sense. The America was quite busy with the Super Bowl. So the best performing orc player was Jake Harding, which we will talk about after. Might get James here, but let's talk about James Ball and his path to victory, because he did only drop one big game round. Surprisingly, so did Jake Harding the same exact round. So let's look at James Ball's list in depth. And shout out to you guys. Love to see Toyota Athlon. What's up? War to the chat. So we have the beloved Big Mac and Mega Armor as the Warlord Mech Captain. Best enhancement in the detachment. Then we have 3 by shock attack guns. Now, everybody knows this is what the game is right now. This is what's hot on the meta, hot on the menu, bringing all the firepower. Now, the interesting fun part, 2 solo mechs. You get a lot of questions about these mechs. Do I need them? Why would I need them? Can I just bring more stuff to kind of just stand around? We talk about that in a video on unit, how to use these guys. But in short, in this detachment, what we're looking at here is he brought Mork's Cunning, which how it's worded and how rules typically are, judged upon, is that none of the abilities, no data sheet abilities, no enhancements, nothing work when you're inside of a transport. Therefore, if you were going to stick this on a shock attack gun and he's inside of a truck, for example, then you wouldn't be able to Mork's Cunning redeploy. So having a solo mech on the field allows you to deal with the fact that you're inside of a transport. I've heard people are judging it the other way. Whatever, just ask your TO. I'm just telling you what is vastly understood. So, like the War Boss ability, us not having the War Boss's data sheet ability, that's why, because the truck. It's not because anything else. Is the truck makes you not have it. So that's why he brought Mork's Cunning. Interestingly enough, he does have a battle wagon. It's not open top. He does have a battle wagon though. Now he has a second mech. The second mech is Gob Boomer. So that's so he can throw an order up the field. Now, this always gets contention with me and other gets in the community, right? So you tell me what you guys think. Do you run a solo mech at all? How are you using him? I actually have run God Boomer quite often. And for the Mork's Cunning, sometimes you can just put him in a war boss or something, and then he can yell. He can't go be redeployed back into the transport, right? He can be pulled off the field, but he can't put back in the transport. But I'm just expecting to throw in the transport and then move the truck, right? So some people play that way. But for the God Boomer, I like him for units like we'll discuss as we continue this list. Now, we have a war boss, and then we have Zodgrod Wortsnagga, another unit that we get a lot of conversation about. So then he has a big 10-man unit of Stormboyz. Yes, the big man unit of Stormboyz has finally showed up and showed out. This unit gets told that it sucks because Stormboyz are quite effective if you're just telling me I'm throwing a 10-man unit of boys at you in a truck, right? I mean, with jetpacks, right? The thing is, when you have God Boomer, you can throw orders at this unit and it can advance and charge all game. So you pair that with, maybe Zodgrod for some straight pressure and speed of the table when it's your wall turn. If you're going to really sit on that 5-up invul and not just be a paper bag like the 10-man unit typically is, you could go in with the Zod and the Stormboyz and then the rest of your wall units, and you got some speed to kind of not be in with the way of each other. But in most cases, you can actually use this 10-man unit for a late game charging or just an early game, just skirmish running around. You give him +1 strength, you give him reroll charges, he advances and charges. You give him, either one, really, those two. So those are the 2 most often you bring. I absolutely do enjoy this unit. Now, very, very, very squishy. I've also lost 8 dudes to Overwatch outside of the wall, really trying to put some pressure on people. So be aware of that. It is still soft, but gosh, the advance and charge from Orks all game with jetpacks. That's what, when you run this unit, you're like, all right, I get why they don't give it to us all game, with more units. So it's just kind of funny like that. 2 5-man units of Stormboyz, and then 3 trucks with 1 battle wagon. That's what typically people do when they don't have a bunch of battle wagon trucks, for example. And some people really just like battle wagons. I know on UKTC terrain, there's good places to hide them. Very prevalent in like America as well. As for the ITC, UKTC, I have the terrain on my table. Sometimes I feel the wagon doesn't hide too well there. So you guys can tell me how you feel about that. We do have Zap Cannon on it. If you have the mech, giving it 1 shot saves you time of rolling other garbage shots for D6. So just get 1 good high value shot, anti-monster 4+, vehicle 4+, get some 4 damage on some, or is it 5? I forgot. Then we have the 10 flash kits, of course, for the mega mech. And then this was the fun part. He has 3 units of Gretchen, and he does have Zod. but he absolutely does not have a 20-man unit with Zod. I have not seen that since Index Hammer. I'm pretty sure. I haven't seen someone actually take it to an event, especially 6th rounds, and take Zod with just a unit, a 10-man unit of 11-man unit of Grots. Now, you can totally put this in a truck, scout it up the field, because they can actually, the truck can take advantage and adopt the scouting ability from Zod. That's because the dedicated transport will adopt scout. Your battle wagon will not, your truck will. Therefore, there's a really good chance that this git was crazy and he, no, just kidding. This git was cunning and he just put them in a truck and then had, the Zod move up the field safely in a truck, and then he can run up and disembark and go speed up the table up the field. Or he kept it as a small unit because it's way easier to hide on profile and scout up into enemy terrain and still have a very effective, unit. The fact that you have the Meks to yell orders at these guys is cool. The fact that you can redeploy Zod is pretty handy as well, and the wagon is for sure. Then we go to the rest of the list. A 5-man unit of Ludas. I typically expect that just for scoring, but people might throw orders at it. Up to you. A 5-man unit of Knobs, typically for a SWAT team to fill that kind of slot. And it's really the only unit that's going to be with the War Boss on this list. So a little bit of punch. I like that he at least has something that's respectable on the wall. Other than that, everything's really just DACA, because we follow up with 3 units of Tankbustas. Now, if you're really about that life, you can put all 3 units of Tankbusters with their shock attack guns in the battle wagon and then redeploy this giant brick, like Mark Perry likes to call the DACA capsule, right? So James Ball has all those options on this list. Shout out to our sponsors, the Baron of Dice, as they helped us do our Waaaghtaktiks dice. So shout them out. Check them out in description, 5% off in the discount, because nobody likes taxes. And shout out to Baron of Dice. They allow us to do our paint competition. So thank you very much to them. Let's take a look at his path to victory as to what this git ran into. Doing quite well in 6 rounds, baby. Let's go. 6 rounds. I kind of like that. 6 rounds instead of 5, but that's a long weekend too. I get it. So let's move on. But for these big events, definitely 6 for like hundreds of people. So let's move into his first matchup, the Leagues of Votann. So we have 2 Iron Here champions and then Uthlar. So that's cool. They have the actual epic character. 1 unit of Hearthkin Warriors. They can break apart, put all their special weapons into 1 5-man unit. 4 Sagittars, highly effective units for their point cost. T10, it's really awkward. Good anti-tank firepower. 2 units of Berserkers. The only thing to remember here about these guys that Orc players tend to forget is that they have something called mole launchers, and mole launchers are stupid if they actually end up hitting you. Now, they are indirect. These dudes, I think, typically hit on maybe even 5, so it might be hitting you on 6s, but it typically just needs to hit you, and then on a 4+, -2 to your movement in advance. Don't let it, make you scared of anything. Just know it can happen and have contingencies. Then we have 2 units of 5 Hearthguard, and then 2 units of the Hecaton Land Fortresses, followed by 2 units of Pioneers and 1 Jaeger unit. Jaeger, the cool thing about them is they're like reactive moving, and they're a little bit tough. Like, how we like commandos because we're T5, kind of sets people off. We're kind of cool. They're T5 because they're dwarven and they reactive move. That's the coolest thing about them. Pioneers come off the table edges, and then Hecaton Land Fortresses with these Terminators are the whole point of the army. So when you play against League of Votann, just think of them as they want to scout forward with these Sagittars, disembark little garbage like 5-man units of the battle line, or these Berserkers if they have to play and delay you early game for the first turn, maybe 2, and then these take position with the fortresses and the Terminators, and the Terminators want to kind of overwhelm a flank and shoot and charge to get the full value out of them. So as long as you can kind of have overlapping layers on how to assault them, which our Git does, because he has tank busters that he can just pop. Really, if you kill those Terminators, and we get this question a lot sometimes, not a lot, but some once in a while, where people are like, can I shoot my tank busters and Terminators, or do I shoot them into, the Sagittar, and in what cases should I pop pulse rifles? Well, in this case, they're T6, so the pulse doesn't really assist you, but it will assist you if they decide to pop Armor of Contempt, and just being able to pick up those guys when they're behind all of those screens of what they consider trash, like fortresses and berserkers. You pick up their efficient units. You can either choose to pop the fortress or take out one of those 5-man units, feel like you can't get to it, and you know that they're a big threat to you. So I like that it has layers. And then he has the punching, he has the Zod for the speed to wrap and trap anything, and then Stormboyz to run up and start punching, flipping, because that's the thing about a 10-man unit of Stormboyz. If it ever survives, or if it goes into something like these armies that have a bunch of like transport armor. A 10-man unit Stormboyz doesn't really have to kill him. He just has to jump on an objective and tag like two of those trucks, or maybe just one. Even it could be good enough, and then flip primary and or stop units from disembarking because it won't kill the vehicle itself, but you can wrap it and then they can't really disembark. A unit cannot fall back and disembark either. So if he chooses to fall back, he could end up just doing nothing with that unit. So a lot of options here. I like his list. That's what I like about James' list. You can tell that he's going for the DACA, but with the DACA, he brought a lot of speed, like some speed. Some mobility, I guess, is maybe a better way to put it. So great job there. 98-point win on his first game. Pulled the right one, guys. Boop, boop. Yeah, 3 busting, three battle wagons, 3 Tankbusters and a battle wagon is super nice. Let's go into his second game, where he also did well, which was into the Genestealer Cultist, something that people don't got, a lot of options with. I don't have a lot of options with that. So we have Death Leaper, Abominant, oh my gosh, Benefice, whatever his name is, Clemavis, Locust, and then the Patriarch. Interesting thing here is Patriarch is essentially like a Brood Lord for Tyranids, where he wants to put dev wounds into you and scout up and put a bunch of pressure on you. Abominant leads a big brick of I want to kill you units and hit you hard, and he gets back up with they feel no pains. And then a Death Leaper, basic little lictor kind of on his own. We have 5-man unit of hybrids, 3 units of gargoyles. Now they do have the same ability that they had when Tyranids, because the detachment here allows them to combine, I believe, because it's called Final Day. That's pretty sick. Where the gargoyles are like a great move blocking, delaying garbage unit that is going to be really annoying to, like, if you were a warhorde army. They just take these guys, run up into you, they shoot at something random. Don't got to kill it. One guy has to shoot, and then they can all move. Good for move blocking, good OT because they're battle line. But the fact that you have a 10-man unit gargoyles to fly over them is fantastic. One big 20-man unit of hybrids. The aberrants we were speaking about before. They have feel no pain, so quite durable, but they're slow and they want to hit you hard. 10-man unit of hybrid metamorphs. 5-man unit, 2 lictors. Pure strain unit. Like I said, they want to scout forward, charge into you, take the initiative, and then do a bunch of dev wounds into you. And then 3 individual Achilles Ridge Runners with Goliath truck, and a Goliath rock grinder. So 98-point win there. It's just one of those things where orcs kind of just can overwhelm these guys. Do not let GSC concede, do not concede the table to GSC and be scared of them. Tyranids as well. It's not that you shouldn't be scared of them. It's that you can't concede the table because they want to do what we do, where they want to trade bodies for points. They're willing to just stand on objectives and die as long as they can kind of control the board space and really reduce your ability to score. That's what you want to do as an orc player. So take that from them because we hit harder than them. We're tougher than them gets. So get stuck in and beat the crap out of them, or shoot them off the table like our get here with the Tankbusters. Now we go into game 3 where he took his one loss. But we're going to talk about the army he lost to, some of the data sheets that are important, maybe so you can be on the lookout for it as an orc player yourself. So we have the Packbound Zealots. So these are the guys that can choose lethal sustain. I'll show you in a second. I'm going to put data sheet up. So we have a Chaos Lord with Marcus Lanesh, Cultist, 5-man unit of Legionnaires, and then a Rhino. The Rhinos for these Legionnaires most likely, and then the Chaos Lord goes in them. That's like their it's like their version of Knobs with a War Boss, but doesn't hit nearly as hard, even though in this they can get lethals. Then we have 2 units of Predator Destructors. I'll pull up here in a second. 2 Vindicators, a Hellbrute, 2-man units of Obliterators, 2 Possessed units, a Warp Talon, Beast of Nurgle, a 10-man unit of Blue Horrors. Shout out to the Blue Horrors. Any of you demon gets, let me know what you guys think. I'm about to go off on Blue Horrors. And then a unit of Nurgling. So to take it from the top, this is, imagine if you're used to Space Marines, it's like a, Iron Storm kind of detachment where they want to shoot and pop lethal or sustain. Now I'll pull up this data sheet real quick for you guys. Is the right one? Yeah. So we have the Chaos Space Marine, Predator Destructor, anti-infantry 4+, anti-infantry, additional AP against infantry, excuse me. And what happens here is that I'm pulling up the marker Chaos. They can choose to get lethal or sustain, but when they're a pack-bound zealot, they can get it on 5+ because of a Hellbrute. So we see on this list that he had a Hellbrute, and the Hellbrute has a 6-inch aura of allowing you to, let me pull that up right here. Well, has a 6-inch aura of allowing you to pick both instead of just one. So typically, if you're just on your own, you have to roll a leadership check, and then you get to choose lethal or sustain like we would with Dread Mob as orc players. And then they take a leadership test and then they can kill themselves, but they still get it. So these guys are going to be getting lethal, sustain, 5+s. Pretty sick, pretty tough. And he has multiple of them. And then, pull up the one along. There we go. And then he also obviously has typical Vindicators. Mind you, these guys are also beast of. They also have mark of Nurgle, which means that they can choose to kind of like lone out, so they get stealth, and then because they're Nurgle mark, they get to be not targeted. That means you can't choose to pop a certain one that they don't want you to kill with your Tankbusters if you're not within 18 inches. So that would obviously be a factor if you really wanted to get off on one of these Vindicators or get off on one of these Predator Destructors because they're problematic or whatever it may be. So because they got this Hellbrute aura, and typically you say, hey, I want to shoot multiple of these. It's like, nah, man, you only shoot one. Like, oh. Now, mind you, they also have Obliterators. Now, Obliterators, they would get lethal with their shooting, and they can choose to do indirect fire. So they'll disembark your trucks, and then they can kill, or they can disembark your trucks, and then on the next turn you're kind of just standing in the open. Or if something else disembark your trucks and you try to get out within a terrain piece, then they'll indirect the stuff that got out. It's a potent profile. I don't think I have it up on here. And then the funny part is the blue horrors, like our boy saying in chat. They're cheap infiltrators. That's one thing that I did not know that they could actually infiltrate. They're cheap infiltrators. They got a little bit of OC, and the fact that on the 4+ they break into a little dude is hilarious. And then they worsen leadership if you're within an inch, 6 inches of them by 1. So they make you a leadership worsen. And then what was the other thing they did? Yeah, and then they do like some mortal wounds or something. But they also have 4-up invul, and they'll survive a little more. If they do something else, let me know. But most of the time you don't see those. You don't see them. Let me get rid of this. So those are like the main killing problematic parts of his list. Of course, he also has a Nurgling unit for more infiltration as well. Yeah. So this list is I can start pushing you completely back. And this is something we talk about a lot on the channel or just in our community is what about the Mandos? What about the Snickra? Something like that, where you can play that additional phase. There's only 5 turns in the game. You only get 5 shooting phases, 5 combat phases, right? For example, at your access at optimally. The infiltration phase essentially is a phase itself, and you're not participating if you don't have Mandos or Snickra. I'm not saying he's wrong for that. I'm saying this is the matchup where you kind of start to look at it and you're like, that's kind of annoying, right? Okay, you could put a bunch of 10-man blue horrors in my face and some Nurgling trucks and make me sit back a little bit, take your positions in your gun lines, and then when I get through that and I take my Tankbusters to move up closer to you, the vehicle that's closest, I pop my Nurgle strat, and then you can't interact with me, and I don't really have anything to wall into you, and then you have weird stuff like Warp Talons and Possess that are running around kind of skirmishing my skirmishes, and then you have indirect fire to disembark, which you're scared of, so you can win the skirmish. So you can see how that could actually be quite a hard match. So shout out to James. That's still a great job, because that's that's a potent army that you would face there. I've ran into it before. It happens. So 83 points is a good score though, and it leads me to believe he was playing something like Taken Hold, Ritual, anything with 6 objectives, whatever it may be. And sneak peek at the future, the other orc player we're covering also lost round 3 and had a good score like that as well. So there's something going on here. I don't have the player pack. If I did, I'd love to see what was going on there. But we move on. So now we move on to his game 4, where he seeks redemption. And redemption is what he finds in the Blood Angels. So he decides he's going to go get some power armor for power armors. And I see you guys in chat. You guys are saying you guys love the Stormboyz. Yeah, let me know in chat if you guys like the Stormboyz. And just because you don't have trucks doesn't mean battle wagons or kill rigs are bad. So that's good. So kill rigs and battle wagons are still, solid, dude. Solid. Unless you're going to like a GT, then maybe you'll feel the big impact. But going to just play casually, playing stuff is still fun. Don't worry about that. Then we have Blood Angels. Like I said, these are the Beach Angels, so they're gonna get beached around. So we have 2 captains with jump pack, Commander Dante, 2 DCRs, 2 lieutenants, 1 with a combi weapon, and then the Sanguinor. Quite character heavy. Shout out to the Sanguinor. Intercessors for that sticky. 2 units of Blade Guard veteran Inceptor unit with plasma. 3 3-man units of Sanguinary Guard. Of course, they're -1 to wound, -1 to hit, but we're shooting them because we got Daka and Tankbusters. 2 units of Scouts, and then 2 units of Vindicators. So there's a chance that you took Tankbusters into the Sanguinary Guard because you don't have to kill the Vindicators to win the game. The Sanguinary Guard might just run up and beat the crap out of you, especially if the Sanguinor can heroic from space down into you. That being said, again, we like the tech pieces that he has for board presence, as you know, a 10-man unit Stormboyz moves up quite quickly, some war bosses and trucks. The 10-man unit flash gets very important for kind of controlling that mid table and being able to set up overwatch lines in something like a melee matchup where Blade Guard veteran, you know, they want to pop Armor of Contempt and chill and try to tank some stuff, but at some point they want to walk across the table and start charging you. That's where all these, you know, soft body units where they're T4 Marines, two wounds, some of these guys, right? Well, Blade Guard are 3, but all in all, the Space Marine as a whole are typically 2 wounds. They start getting picked up, and all he can really commit to really close that distance will be the sanguinary guard if you position your flash kits according, where anything else is kind of really scared of giving overwatched and getting picked up before they get an interaction off. So that's typically the Blade Guard veterans, right? So because their reroll ones only works in combat of saves, their reroll ones of saves. And he does have a lot of these characters for fight first too, right? So he's definitely seeking to go into you and to go get you. So that's what you would have to do with that, and I'm sure he did, because how James ended up kind of really putting up the high score on this, getting a 93-point win into that get. And yeah, and having something like Zod, like I said, I love it. Stormboyz, whatever, getting those guys. I know the Vindicator can shoot into combat and it could pick up the Stormboyz over time, but being able to run up and just touch it right away and be like, you're not getting the line of sight you want. You're not going to get involved while I kill everything else. Let me go get that. There's a chance that someone could be set up to heroics. I'm not saying it's always going to be set up for you, but 10-man Stormboyz units now sets up the enemy to think about that when they move, when they deploy. And then you have Mork's Cunning. So you can be like, you didn't give me the option. I'll pull that back now. I'll use it for late game. Boom. And then you like that because then, you know, you can get off on somebody with that. You orders at them, get them the strength 5, volume of punches, throw a grenade at someone. It's really fun. I like that. So James ended up getting a 93-point win there. And another get that's getting the win is Jay Hoon handed out the 5 Waaaghtaktiks membership. Whoa, for Jay Hoon. Huge channel member, supporter. Great love in that you get. Always supporting us, always hooking us up. It's very humbling. You know, one day I owe you a squig beer or something. You know what I'm saying? So thanks, man. I appreciate you very much. And he said the zap gun, love it. Right? How often do we get the zap guns going off? And when it hits, when the zap gun hit, you're like, yes, just, you know, big damage. My battle wagon finally shot something. We don't have a tank anymore. GW, we don't have a tank anymore. So, you know, it kind of feels like a tank, you know, it feels. So shout out to Jay Hoon. Much love, buddy. Thank you very much for the support. And thank you to everybody who supports. Leave a like if we're doing a good job. So then we move on. James, don't distract me, James. No, I'm just kidding. So we're going to game 5. So round 5, we have the Blood Angels again. And this time it's the Liberator Assault Group. I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to look at a lot of Blood Angels today. So we have Astroth, Chaplain with Jump Pack, Chief Librarian, and Commander Dante. I just read something in chat. You're funny. Assault Intercessor Squad, Assault with Jump Packs, 3 of them, but oh, sorry, not 3. 2 units of Assault Intercessor with Jump Pack, a 10-man unit of a Death Company with Jump Pack, another 10-man unit Death Company with Jump Packs, 2 Lancers, an Infiltrator, a big brick of Sanguinary Guard, and then 2 Scout Squad. This is what I'm typically used to seeing with Blood Angels. Couple gun platforms, bigger bricks of Jump Pack boys, and then a couple 5-man unit Jump Pack boys. Nothing's wrong with it, just what we're typically going to see. But the meta has been quite interesting, as we're going to go over more lists today, as what we do here. The big issue for them as well is like we spoke about in the other matchup, right? Once your flash gets take to mid table and he doesn't have, you know, a ball predator would be more problematic for flash kits. But in this case, having lancers means that you can confidently put a flash kit unit kind of mid the table or wherever your natural expansion, where they're the best gun line of long line of sight is for them to overwatch. And you can say, okay, as soon as jump packs come out, as soon as your death companies come out, as soon as whatever decides to close the distance with me and it doesn't have a 2-up armor saves, I'm instantly re-rolling the hit roll into you. I might even save my lethals just so I can lethal you to bomb to death. And then once you get kind of kicked off into my flash kits, then it's all go. That's if you can really close the distance into my flash kits, because he has Zodgrod, and then he has a lot of other stuff in this field as well. I like that it's interesting to me that he only has 1 unit of punch and gets, right? How do you guys feel about that, right? This is such the inverse of at least my style when it comes to like on the wall, I only have 1 more boss and 5 knobs. So how do you guys feel about that? Very different, and I love to see it. He was a cunning gift for that with his that Daka wall for taking out those Blood Angels. Got to be prepared for the Blood Angels. Still a good game. You can see 79-point win there. Then we move on to his last game. So that was a strong game. It was a hard game. We move on to his last game. which is going into Chaos Demons, Legions of X. So Excess. So these guys are a little bit of a meta contender. So we have 3 Keepers of Secrets, each with a different enhancement. We're not going to talk about at the moment. And then we have 2 units of Demonettes, 2 units of Nurglings, a Plague Bearer, and then 3 units of Fiends. But luckily for our Git, there was only 1 big 6-man unit of Fiends. Then we have 1 Chariot, 2 Seekers. Now, a lot of the time, people, when you're used to playing into demons, you're like, Keepers carry, baby. Keepers carry. They're going to do everything. They definitely hit hard. Definitely can be problematic for orcs sometimes if we don't have the right tools. We used to struggle into thick stuff. Now, the interesting thing here that you wouldn't expect, luckily he only has 1 of these bricks, is that they can do something kind of cagey here with the demonettes, where they can take the damage you would put onto the demonettes in any phase, and they could bleed them, or sorry, into the fiends. Excuse me. They can take the damage from the fiends that you target into the fiends. If a demonette unit is nearby them, they can take the damage they took, the fiends themselves took, and bleed it off into a demonette. The demonette has a 4 of feel no pain. The demonette can try to take a 4 of feel no pain to survive that. So you can end up having these like really durable fiend units. He doesn't have too many of them, but you can tell he's kind of leaning into that. He just ran out of fiends. And 1 chariot, 65 points, kind of like a little orc truck, but it's not a truck. It's not a transport. I just mean it's valued and utilized like an orc truck would be, where it kind of gets the game kick-started, runs around, a little tougher to kill than you'd expect it to be with its invulns. And then a little bit of small units for scoring, other than those 3 demonettes. I think that our boy has all the tools for this, though. Of course, like we like to say, I would it's funny because flash kits really do work into demons so well. And I know flash kits, you're looking at this attachment, you're like, does it only run off flash kits? No, but you can really play your game plan around this enhancement and this being a part of your list. You can tell that he's leaning into Daka. Therefore, how he was deploying, how he's defending himself, his layers of his lines of offense, and how he was kind of scoring primary had to do with him positioning those flash kits to kind of get the game kickstarted and to control parts of the board. That way he can kind of get action from those Tankbustas when it was their time to go. I know that because he has so many Meks on the table. I mean, he was constantly kind of giving out orders to other stuff to do things outside of the wall potentially, or be exceptional during the wall, like the other 5-man units of Stormboyz, the random Grots, Zodgrod being able to be given an order. I don't know about Ludas, right? But we talk about this too. Maybe you'd give Ludas +1 feel no pain. Plus time feel no pain. Sorry. Maybe you give Ludas +1 to hit the 5-man unit, and then they start going off on something like the demonettes that are on an object. And then it's like, okay, I'm rerolling the hit roll and hitting on 5 demonettes. Haha. That could feel pretty solid. So I'd love to see how this actually played out. Very different to my style. But shout out to Mr. James Ball for going 5-1. And just one more time, we're going to look at his Daka detachment, where we have Tactics Brigade. We have 3 shock attack guns, 1 Big Mech and Mega Armor with Mech Captain as the Warlord, 2 solo Mechs. Tell me what you guys think about that in the chat and the comments. 1 with more cunning, 1 with God Boomer, 1 War Boss, Zodgrod, Wortsnagga. Zodgrod is only with a minimum size unit of Grots. Of course, you can go in the truck. We don't know that he did, but I'm assuming he probably did. We have a 10-man unit of Stormboyz. I love that we're seeing it. Interested to see if it makes more appearances on the tabletops, on the top tables and such. You let me know. I'm telling you, in a casual pick up, RTT 10-man Stormboyz is pretty fun, and it does pretty well. 2 5-man units of Stormboyz, 3 trucks, 1 battle wagon with zap gun and art case, 10 flash kits, 3 by 11 grots, 1 5-man unit of Ludas, 5 knobs, and then 3 Tankbustas. So whoa for Mr. James Ball. Be a cunning it and check out our new order markers that are in our store. So shout out to you guys being cunning. Help you guys get all the orders set on the table nice and clean for all you get to get stuck in. If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.
Let's get stuck in, lads!